Next.js 16 is available now and comes with a whole bunch of cool stuff. But the thing I'm most excited about is cache components. Cache components? Cache components? Nah, I'm going with cache components. I'm sorry if that's difficult for you to hear. But cache components are the stable way to do partial pre-rendering and caching going forward with Next.js. I'm super excited to learn more, so let's get into it. So here I have my stories application with a list of things going on in the tech industry. It has a bunch of different combinations of static and dynamic stuff. So this bit at the top doesn't change. It's the same static markup every time, whereas the latest stories are somewhat dynamic. And this favorite section requires fetching those stories from the database, but also knowing who the currently signed in user is so it can get their specific favorites. So this section would look different for every single user that visits our app. And then again, we've got some static content at the bottom. Now, if you're new to Next.js or web development in general, you probably need to know that static content is good. There are a lot of performance wins, especially in Next.js, when you can have things that are predictable and known upfront, so they can be calculated or rendered upfront, and it's not doing a whole bunch of work when the user visits the page. So let's start off with our About page. Literally everything on this page can be known ahead of time and pre-rendered. Nothing on this page is fetching from a database or needs to know who the currently signed in user is. So this page is a great candidate for being fully static, rendered ahead of time, and heavily cached for every user. And because we're using the Next.js app router, we can run npm run build and see that by default, Next.js has detected anything that can be static and pre-rendered it and flagged anything that is dynamic and needs to be server rendered on demand. So when the user visits this page. And so if we're looking for this little circle to denote a static page, we can see there are a bunch of static pages, including our About page. So this is great. Next.js has already done the work for us. It's looked at this page, it's found nothing dynamic, everything is just static markup, so it's been able to render that page at build time, so it needs to do very little work when the user actually visits that page. But that isn't really very realistic in a lot of applications. Let's run our dev server again and say we want to add authentication to our application. So let's add a little user avatar for the currently signed in user. Thankfully, the previous dev has already done all the work for us in the navbar and has just left it commented out. So let's give that one a save and then head back over to our application and we have a user avatar. So this should be fine. Our entire About page is still static and this whole navbar is actually rendered from our layout component, which is outside our page anyway, and so shouldn't affect it, right? Well, we can check again with another build, but it looks like our assumption was incorrect. Our entire application is now dynamic. So every single page across our entire application now needs to be rendered dynamically when the user visits the page, again, just to show this tiny little user avatar up in the navbar. And even if I wrap this in a suspense boundary, so we say we want to render everything in the navbar and then the user avatar can be suspended until we've finished working out who that user is. So now in dev mode, this looks good. If we refresh the page, we can see all of this about stuff. And then when the user is ready, they pop in. So again, I refresh, they're gone, and then they pop in once we've worked out who that user is. But if we go and do another build, we'll see, again, our entire application is dynamic. And this is because in the app router, prior to cache components, it was all or nothing. Even though everything on our page is static, because there's one little part that's dynamic, it opts that into being a dynamic route, which needs to do all of that work when the user is visiting the page. So having this one very tiny part in the navbar being dynamic and the navbar being rendered by our layout component, so wrapping every single page in our application, we've unintentionally marked every page in our application dynamic and made it so that Next.js can't do any static pre-rendering or generation of our pages ahead of time. Or it couldn't until cache components, which we can opt into by going to our Next.js config file and setting cache components to true. And that's it. We now have access to partial pre-rendering and some new caching capabilities that we'll look at soon. So let's comment out our user avatar again, just so we can see the default behavior, and then build our application, we can see Next.js has identified some of our routes that are static and some of them that are dynamic, but has also given us this new option for partial pre-render, where content is pre-rendered as static HTML with dynamic server-streamed content popping in once it's ready. But we're getting ahead of ourselves. What about our About page? Is it static or dynamic? Correct. It is static. Next.js has been able to identify that there is nothing dynamic happening in this component, and so it can pre-render that HTML exactly the same as the app router could do before we switched on cache components. But now when we uncomment our user avatar and have something dynamic happening on every single page, when we build, is this going to be static or dynamic? Well, neither, but also both. We can see this little partial pre-render icon is next to pretty much every page in our application, including our About page. So now, rather than it being all or nothing for every single route of our application, we now have this wonderful thing called partial pre-rendering, which knows that all of this stuff on the About page is static, and the only thing that's dynamic is this little user avatar. So it leaves a little dynamic window within the rest of this entirely static and pre-rendered page, so that content can be streamed in from the server once we've checked the cookies and know who the user is. So let's go the entire other end of the spectrum, where we have dynamic content that needs to be fetched from a database. So for this stories page, we have a little bit of static stuff at the top, but then each of these stories is fetched from the database. So can't really be static. But since we're using suspense to wrap our component that's fetching each of those stories, we can still benefit from that static partial pre-rendering of all this markup that doesn't change. And in fact, if we remove that suspense boundary, so if we just comment it out and go back to our page and refresh, we'll see this has lit up red with an issue that uncached data was accessed outside of suspense. This delays the entire page from rendering, resulting in a slow user experience. And Next.js actually throws this as an error and a build error to ensure that you fix it up and your app loads instantly on every navigation. So you may actually need to do some refactoring of your application, especially if you're doing something like fetching all of your data at the page level, so up here in our stories page, and then prop drilling that data down to the components that are using it. This blocks us from being able to use suspense because all this asynchronous data fetching stuff is happening before we can render anything on the page. So React and Next.js suggest moving this data fetching logic further down the tree into the components that need it, rather than passing it in as a prop from a component higher up the tree. And that makes this stories list component much more reusable because its data fetching logic is contained within the component rather than being passed in as a prop. And again, this allows us to wrap it in a suspense boundary as low down the tree as we possibly can. So just this stories list component is waiting for that promise to resolve to get that data, and the rest of the page can start rendering. We can even render a fallback like this stories list skeleton so that our UI doesn't jump around while we're fetching that data. So we can see this stuff at the top is already available while we're fetching the rest of these stories from the database. And once they're ready, we swap out that skeleton component with our actual list of stories, and our users get that instantaneous feeling navigation where they land on the page and they can see something straight away while we're still fetching those stories. But what if this data doesn't actually change that often? Let's say we only get 1 or 2 new stories a day, and so the majority of our requests to the database are gonna return the same result set, the same list of stories. Well, that's where the cache bit of cache components comes in. We can add the new use cache directive to the top of our component, or we can do it at the top of our file, or even within a specific function that we want to cache the result from. And now if we go back to our page, we're going to see this obscure error that we used cookies inside of use cache. And this is because to fetch our stories, we're using Supabase. And Supabase allows for authenticated queries to the database. So because we're using Supabase for authentication, we know who the user is. That gets piped through to the database so we can control exactly what we want the user to see when they make a request. But that's not actually what we want in this case. These stories are public, and so regardless of who the user is, or even whether or not they're signed in, we want them to see the same list of stories. So I've mocked up a quick Supabase client for anonymous queries. So it basically turns off all the auth stuff that relies on cookies. And so when we're importing the create client function from our Supabase library, we just want to pull this in from the anon file. So you don't need to worry about this bit if you're not using Supabase. This is just a specific thing because of how we create a Supabase client on the server. So now our stories list component is making an unauthenticated request or an anonymous request to get all of the stories. Now, when we go back to the browser and refresh, we see this list of stories is already cached. And if we click between our about page and our stories page, we see instantaneous transitions because Next.js already has all of the data that it needs. Now we are seeing a flash of that skeleton screen, so we might decide to remove this fallback. And now when navigating between about and stories, we see those pages are already ready to go, which is actually another benefit of partial pre-rendering. The router can now prefetch any of that static content and even make a request for the dynamic stuff before the navigation has finished. So we can even determine how long we want that cache to live with the cache life function, which comes in from next cache. And then we can pass this a specific number of seconds, so like 30, for example, or some convenient strings like days, hours, seconds, weeks, minutes. So in our case, let's say this cache can live for hours. So what about our favorites page? So for some context, this is a page for your saved stories and articles. So this needs to know who the currently signed in user is and tell Supabase about it so that it can fetch just their stories that they favorited. In the code, this follows a very similar pattern to our stories page, where we wrap our favorites list in a suspense component, and our favorites list has an artificial wait time of 2 seconds, just so we can feel like this is doing something. If Supabase wasn't so damn fast, this wouldn't be a problem, but we're fetching all of the user's favorites and then rendering them out on the page. But if we try to cache this data within the component, we see that same error in the browser because we need to use cookies to know who this user is. And we can't do that inside a component that has the use cache directive. And we can't use that anonymous Supabase client that we used for our stories, because in this case, we actually do need to know who the user is. And so because this favorites page will look different for every single user that visits it, doesn't really make sense to cache that on the server. Now, Next.js is actually working on something that looks very cool called use cache private. So this is a variant of use cache designed specifically for user-specific content that needs to be prefetchable, but not stored server-side. And so I just edited out a whole chunk of the video where I tried to use this. And so to enable runtime prefetching, you need to export out this unstable prefetch configuration, which I think is maybe just a little too unstable at the moment. You need to provide it with an array of samples, and so basically know the value of the cookies that you're trying to cache, which doesn't really make sense in our case because that's going to be different for every single user. So we can't really know it ahead of time and put it in our code. So point is, I think in the future, Next.js is going to have a really nice API around this, but for now, we need to decide between user-generated content and caching. So in this case, no caching for us, but we still get to benefit from partial pre-rendering and those snappy navigations between each of our pages, because this first bit of our favorites can be pre-rendered and fetched ahead of time. And again, it can even kick off the request for this dynamic content before it's finished navigating to that page. So what about our homepage? So this is a mix of some static content, some dynamic content that can be cached, and some truly dynamic content that is rendered uniquely for every user who visits our page. So this page probably benefits the most heavily from partial pre-rendering because there's such a mix of static and dynamic stuff. In fact, if we were to slow down that request for our favorites and make it painfully slow, like 10 seconds, and while we're here, we can cache our recent stories component and set the cache life to hours, and also remember to use our anonymous client, we'll see even though those favorites are painfully slow to render, the user can already see this static content at the top, the latest stories, they can even scroll and see the static content underneath, and then once the favorites are finally ready, they dynamically stream in from the server.